In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the basic shape tool shortcuts that are on page 4 of your Intro to Illustrator notes. In Illustrator, we have obviously our shape tools that we identified in our notes that are listed on the left-hand side. And we also have various keys on our keyboard that are shortcuts that are going to help us out when we're using some of these shape tools. So I'm going to quickly demonstrate how some of these tools work with some of the keys in order to make our designing lives a little bit easier and more efficient. So I'm going to start with the Shift key. If I'm using the rectangle tool and I create a rectangle and I hold down the Shift key, that Shift key is going to help me constrain my rectangle to a perfect square. I'm going to fill that in so we can see that a little bit easier. Likewise, with my ellipse tool, if I hold down the Shift key, it will constrain my circle or my ellipse into a perfect circle. All right. The thing that you have to remember is that you have to let go of your mouse first and then let go of the Shift key to make sure that your object is placed before you let go of your shortcut key. Otherwise, it'll go back into an ellipse. This is what I mean. So again, I'm holding down that Shift key. I let go of my Shift key first. And if I accidentally move my mouse like I did, my Shift key is no longer active. So it's not constraining that shape to my perfect circle anymore. And that is how the Shift key works using a few of our tools. The next tool that we can take a look at is the Option key. And the Option key typically for most of our tools is going to create a fixed point in the center, the midpoint of our object, and it's going to constrain it from the center outwards. So what that looks like, I'll use a star, is I'm going to create a star. And I'm using the Option key, just making sure I'm using the right one. I'm going to create a star, and then if I hold down the Option key, or what we call Alt, it's going to fix the center point of my circle or my star, and it's going to kind of keep that locked into place. And then it's going to scale my object bigger or smaller from the center outward. All right, so same thing with the rounded rectangle tool. You can see the midpoint in there, that little anchor point looking thing in the center. If you press the Alt key, it's going to constrain that from the center outward. So my center point is staying nice and fixed or locked into place, and then I can change the size of my shape based off of that specific center point. The space bar. The space bar is really nice, especially if you have a bunch of things going on. So I'm going to use my polygon tool. I'm going to change my colors. All right, so the space bar. So I have my mouse. I'm still actively making this object. All right, my left-hand mouse button is still being held down. I can still actively make changes to it. But if I press my space bar and hold down my mouse, my space bar freezes my object and it allows me to move it to a new location. I can let go of my space bar. I can continue making edits if I want to. I can click on my space bar again and I can move it somewhere else. All right, so my space bar allows me to quickly freeze the state of my object and then move my work. My Click Once tool. My Click Once tool is going to help me create objects with specific dimensions. Sometimes when we're designing things, we'll need to design to specific dimensions, and that's completely normal. And a lot of these shape tools look completely different. So I'm going to use my rectangle tool, and I'm going to click once on my artboard, and I'm going to get a dialog box, and then I can kind of customize what size I want that rectangle to be. The ellipse tool is going to look a little bit different. The height and the width. If you want it to be a perfect circle, you could type in, 2 inches by 2 inches, and it'll create a 2-inch diameter. My polygon tool looks a little bit different as well. You can specify the radius that you want for your polygon, and then you can change the number of sides that you want. So if you want, a 12-point polygon, then you can create a 12-sided polygon. And likewise for your star. If you click once, again, it'll have the inside radius and the outside radius. The radius 1 is the outside, so it's tip to tip diameter, and then the inside radius is the inside points diameter. And then I could also change it to, have only 4 points. If I click once and I type in 3 points, it'll actually create kind of a triangle looking thing, but not really a triangle because we still have 3 points that are sticking out a little bit. All right, and last but not least, we have our up and down arrow keys. And our up and down arrow keys typically will work with the star tool and the polygon tool. All right, and so what that looks like is the polygon tool. If I click and drag my polygon, I'm going to freeze my shape by holding down the space bar to relocate. I'm still holding down my mouse because I'm still can actively make changes. But if I press the down arrow key, it's going to get rid of sides until I make a triangle. If I press the up arrow key, it's going to add sides. So down arrow key reduces or deletes sides. The up arrow key adds sides. Once I let go of my mouse, I can press my arrow key, but now nothing's going to happen except for my shape is going to move because I'm no longer making edits to that object. My star tool, again, up arrow key is going to add points to my star. The down arrow key is going to take points away from that star. You can add as many points as you want to. If you sit here all day and do one of those, it's going to be a while before you get back down to having your star look a little bit normal. All right, again, I'm able to add and take away those points because I'm still holding my mouse down. I can still make changes. Once you're done making changes and you're happy, then let go of the mouse, and then those arrow keys will no longer add and subtract points. It will just move your object up and down if it's active. And that is the basic shape tool shortcut note sheet, kind of in a quick little glance of how we'll primarily be using it. I know I didn't cover all of the shapes and tools in the chart, so if you'd like to take some time to practice each of those keys with each of our tools, that would be a great opportunity for you to go ahead and get started, because you're going to need those basic shape tool shortcut cheats for your assignment on Friday.